Welcome back, everyone. This is Griot of the Diaspora, and I'm your host, Nakaira G. And today we are at the University of Ghana. I am here with an international student here at the University of Ghana. For those of you who may not know or do know, I went to the University of Ghana as a study abroad student back in 2013, and I finished my bachelor's degree here in Africana Studies. And so right now we are at the Institute of African Studies that Kwame Nkrumah enacted. So today we are going to be speaking with Devon. He is here with us, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the study abroad experience, being an international student, what it's like to be on campus, what it's like to do your education and academic experience here, and a little bit more. So, welcome, Akwaba. Your first trip in Ghana was in 2021.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you came as a tourist.
Yes, I did.
So, how was that compared to coming back as a student?
Night and day. Definitely a week is like a blink of an eye, and it's very much like you do all the frilly things, the superficial things in a way, but some deep things, but it's definitely nothing substantial. So just being here long term, you see a lot more. You see everything actually.
Yeah.
How people live, your impact here, your privilege, and then as well as the socio-cultural divide.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely you see more of how people live.
Real quick, y'all, make sure you download my new ebook. It is a travel planner and journal. I made this about a year and a half ago, and it's really, really cool. There are 10 different entries. So as you are on your travel journeys, make sure you download this ebook. It's only $10, and you can get it on my website today at nakedgoldonline.com. You can download it, you can print it, whatever works for you. Make sure you cop that today. So what made you come to Ghana to do your master's?
My mentor, Dr. Seth Asuma, I studied business economics in undergrad. I'm very much a business analytical mind. And I was about to be done. I finished in 4 years like I was supposed to. I was going to graduate early actually because I started school early. And then he said, you got this white degree, now go learn your history. And it definitely hit home. He is my mentor for a reason. And so I picked up a minor in Africana Studies, and then I picked up a major in it. So I have that dual major, 2 degrees. But that was the premise of it. And then I did a little deeper dive, a little deeper digging. I did do the genealogy because, as well as me, all of my siblings are adopted.
Okay.
So we don't necessarily know our biological parents to a degree. I know mine, but it's not apparent, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to always have that understanding of my roots. And I think all my family does. So I did do the genealogy, and then I did what's known as the African ancestry, which goes to the mitochondrial DNA. You get to know where your mother is specifically from. And she's from the Mende people of Sierra Leone. And I also have some Ghanaian in me. So those are the 2 prominent ones, Sierra Leone and Ghana. And my mentor is Ghanaian, and I've been to Ghana before, so everything kind of just went in that direction.
Yeah, nice. And what would you say are the differences in which how Africana Studies is professed back in the States, or in your experience, compared to how it was here?
In the States,
there's any difference.
No, of course there is. And I'm still in the midst of it. That's
Right,
why, I finished my first semester, but I still have 1 more to go. Again, here is more Eurocentric, there's still a lot of priority to speak to European ideologies and paradigms and zeitgeists that aren't necessarily African at all. I was mentioning to you earlier, in terms of my socio-political systems class, my classes are academic writing, African family studies, research methods, socio-political systems, and international economics. So in socio-political systems, they only taught European anthropologists and sociologists and archaeologists, and I had to say something towards the end of the term where it's like, are we going to learn any African scholars? And it was just like, no, you have to get the fundamentals. These are the pillars in these fields, and it's like, I didn't get any of that back home. In Africana studies, I literally only learned about melanated African-American people. I didn't learn anything about European anything, because I don't necessarily think it's necessary or needed. No matter the level of their ill-gotten expertise, I don't think it's necessary to learn about them, especially when we're talking about the African context. So that was a little disheartening. We still haven't learned anything in that class. I'm going to take another class from him to see if he changes.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
What is the campus experience like, from living in the dorm, being on this huge campus? For those of you who don't know, University of Ghana campus is huge. Okay, you have to take taxis sometimes if it's too hot. Walking to Baum Library is literally life or death. But a historical thing about Baum Library is that it is where Malcolm X came to speak when he came to Ghana.
Ooh, okay. It's still named by a European man, which I don't like too much. But that's pretty dope. I didn't know that. Okay, dope. Okay.
Yeah. I know that because I was reading Malcolm X's book when I was here, and
his autobiography.
Yeah.
And so experience has been, good. Definitely had a strike when I first got here for about a month, so that was definitely difficult. I was not informed. I had to pay. I'm paying all this out of pocket. No one's funding me. This is all me. So it's like, I had to pay for that stay while they were getting their stuff together, and that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen in the States. In terms of administratively, you have a summer to clear these kind of things up. And yes, people's pensions and faculty and professors and administrators, that is very important, but that's not a student issue. And so students shouldn't have to be affected, impacted, or involved. I shouldn't have to even know about that. And that would not happen in the States. And not to make it a States thing, but it was unprofessional. And especially I'm paying, I'm paying the amount 100 Ghanaian students would pay. I think you can get your stuff together, or at least inform me.
Yeah.
So I could adjust properly. I could have made money in that month rather than come here. I could have made at least another $10,000, and that could have been used here. So it was really unprofessional. But other than that, once school started, classes were good. I loved all my professors, which was cool. Definitely master's program, so it was an intense, rigorous curriculum. Definitely had some, compulsory courses, which were pretty good. Still waiting on my grades, of course, because they take very long with grades. I want my grades now, but so that's been good. Ish is pretty dope in terms of the different peoples there. I get a lot of different international African students, which is cool, from Cameroon, Sierra Leone, Gabon, just a lot of different places, Togo, Nigeria, like all over really. And that's a really nice perspective, not to negate what I just said, but there's no potable water, so you have to get bottles of water, and those run out after a month. It seems small, but again, just comparatively in the States, schools can't operate unless they have clean drinking water. So that was a bit of a change and just a little annoying. You have to wait till they have water. If they don't have water, you have to pay for water. Cold showers, I'm kind of used to that, having studied abroad in Costa Rica. But small things like that. And you have to walk around with tissue, because there's no tissue in bathrooms. So if you don't have tissue on you, Chale, good luck. That's about it. Everything else is good. The food is really good. It's just not a lot of variety. So it gets a little repetitive. But they do have really good restaurants off campus that, have more diverse.
Yeah. Are there things that within this academic experience that you had that you could see be implemented back home, or things that are back home in those different academic experiences that could be implemented here?
Definitely the curriculum. As I mentioned, I am an educator back home. I have a business back home. I do a lot. And they have very little on economics, like financials, like even like fintech apps to allow the everyday person to begin investing in African Ghanaian companies. You know what I mean? But just things in terms of building the viability and the competence and the marketability of Ghanaians, to make them, highly sought after in the 21st century. So obviously anything to do with economics, to do with financial, markets, to do with technology, AI, all of these models are being developed by, people outside of us. And then on a more maybe practical or maybe, apparent and present is like the relationship with professors. I do love my professors. One of them, the one you met, he with only two of us in the class. He took us out for dinner after everything was done, not in the midst of it.
That's nice,
But it was really nice, and it was not the only professor to do that.
Okay.
So it's cool. The guidance and the support and the mentorship here. It's the same in the States. Or my mentor was a professor of mine who told and taught me to pursue this kind of coursework. But I think that's what I would say most. Definitely the relationships are good. Anything I would bring back to the States. These kids these days, they need respect. And there's I've been to primary schools. There's a primary school on campus. Yeah. And so, it's just respect. Like, respect for elders, like respect for culture, respect for like traditions. And I think back home, we need that more, because the origins of why we did things have, are so different than the reasons and the core of why we do them now, whether it be gangs and their initial stance on protecting the community, to hip hop, which initial incentive was to project our revolution and rebellion and revolt against what is happening to us, to now gangs, we fighting each other, we killing people in our own communities. To hip hop, we glorifying things that perpetuate that system, but it just shows who's behind it and who owns the narrative and who owns these stories. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So, prior to 2021, when you first came to Ghana, what was your expectations, or what was your perceptions of Africa before you came?
The basic, definitely, by this time I had my Africana studies degree, so I was very much aware of the historical context, the wealth of just legacy and history and just development on the continent, whether it be the Moors or the ancient Kemites or the Ghanaian, the Malian, the Ouagadougou, the Songhai empires, the Asante empire. So I was very much learned on like a lot of the things here. But even maybe before I even started my Africana like journey, I was ignorant to it. I didn't really know anything. But just, sick or rather hungry, malnourished kids and jungles and all the stereotypes that we're taught. Yeah.
Word. I want to talk about Kwame Nkrumah for a little bit. One of the things that I was really shocked about and still am shocked about is the lack of Kwame Nkrumah representation in Ghana. Because so many of us who come to Ghana outside of the year of return hike, the Pan-African side, Kwame Nkrumah was always the reason. Because the reason why people think that Ghana is a revolutionary country is because of Kwame Nkrumah. The reason that people think that Ghana is a gateway to Africa is because of Kwame Nkrumah. And it's really, really shocking that there's a disdain for him in some communities and in a lot of spaces. I was lucky to have a course here about Kwame Nkrumah, all about Kwame Nkrumah, and we read his book, Conscientism. And I remember the professor telling us how almost impossible it is to buy a Kwame Nkrumah book in the country. So I'm just curious, like, what that has been like. Did you ever have a connection to Kwame Nkrumah? You know, because I know when it comes to Nkrumah, it's you mention Garvey, and then you got to mention Du Bois, and then you got to mention, you know, the whole family lineage. You know.
I mean, my mentor's mentor is Kwame Nkrumah. So my mentor is pretty up there in age, so he was there. I don't want to say there, but he was very much impacted and affected by his administration, you know, and his, you know, call to freedom, not just for Ghana, which would be nice, but for the entire continent. So, you know, there has been a concerted effort, you know, after the coup, to get rid of any of his kind of rhetoric, because he put so much into writing and into education, into educating the populace about Pan-Africanism. And so I think to really, because again, it was a CIA-backed coup, so to destroy any kind of genuine progress, they had to destroy the words and the rhetoric and the stories that he would tell that are just true, you know. So it's unfortunate, you know. You know, they're in their fourth republic now, you know, after Jerry Rawlings. So, you know, Jerry Rawlings is another, like, kind of pioneer in a way, but he too succumbed to a lot of, like, the Western influences. So it is tough. I haven't read much as I've been here, but in my Africana Studies program, we read Conscientism, and we read different things around negritude, around, like, different, you know, Pan-African ideologies. So I would just say it's improving, like gradually rather and genuinely, but it's still not where it needs to be at all, especially for the pioneer for your freedom.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that is it, guys.
There you go.
Till next time.